This chapter review is sponsored by web novel and Lord of the Mysteries. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for the JOJOLands Chapter 14 review, a fun, fast-paced chapter which brings a more lighthearted tone to the story following the intensity of last month's flashback, where we see the gang embark on their next heist and delve more into the part's long-term goals, and the details of how we actually plan to take down this enemy group Howler and become filthy rich, as well as we even begin to learn the significance of the part's name, the JOJOLands, with an exploration of the concepts of lands and rights, which will inevitably be a major theme of the part. But before we get into the chapter, let me first regale you all with the mysterious and captivating world of Lord of the Mysteries. In this thrilling web novel, you'll embark on a journey filled with danger, intrigue, and unimaginable secrets. The story begins with Sho Minguru, an ordinary modern-day man who one night is forced awake by a splitting headache, only to find himself in a blood-splattered room reincarnated as Klein Moretti, a different person with different memories in an alternate Victorian-era world, filled with steampunk machines and architecture soaked in the deep red of a crimson moonlight. Within this gripping story, you'll experience adrenaline-pumping action and heart-pounding suspense as Klein navigates through a world where nothing is as it seems. Within each chapter, you'll find yourself drawn deeper into its web of secrets and deception, as Klein uncovers ancient secrets and faces sinister forces that threaten the very fabric of reality, while slowly developing newfound powers through the use of potions, divinations, hexes, and tarot cards. And like the tarot card The Fool, which is numbered 0, a number of unlimited potential, this is the legend of the Fool. And you can begin reading Lord of the Mysteries today for free by downloading Web Novel, the perfect app for a seamless reading experience with a massive catalog of novels and comics from all different genres, right on your phone or tablet. Web Novel also has a ton of community-driven features like comments at the end of each chapter to connect with other readers, discuss your favorite moments, and even offers opportunities to interact with the authors. So don't wait any longer and dive into the captivating world of Lord of the Mysteries along with countless other novels by downloading Web Novel today using the link down below in the description. And it's as easy as opening the app, searching the novel title, adding it to your library, and begin reading. So download Web Novel today and unlock a whole new world of endless imagination. So getting back to this month's JOJOLands, starting with the chapter cover, and you might be feeling a bit of deja vu as this is the third variation of this artwork released this month. First seen on the cover of the recently released Volume 3, which featured Paco in the driver's seat. Then on the cover of Ultra Jump was another version with Dragona in the car in different colors, and now in the actual chapter we have a black and white version with Charming Man in the car, confirming that Usagi is never allowed to drive again. And the chapter title is the Hawaii State Land Registry. Turning the page, we find our main cast packed into a van on their way to the next heist, and we can see a little bit into the characters' habits and personalities. Jodio is of course the gamer. As we've seen before, he's usually playing a game in his downtime on a Switch or a phone or something. Dragona is touching up her makeup, Usagi is a foodie scarfing down a burger, and Charmy is drinking water. I guess he really likes to stay hydrated, or maybe it's a side effect of his skin condition. While Paco is preparing for the heist, looking at some blueprints of the building, although when we arrive, it's actually Dragona, Usagi, and Charming Man who will be going inside as instructed by Meryl May, while Paco and Jodio stay lookout. And I'm sure this van they're driving was provided to them by Meryl as well, but I like how it's the same style van that was used by the gang in early part 5 when they were going in between missions, just keeping that Golden Wind vibe alive here. So quickly the squad enters the building, trying their best to be inconspicuous, although Usagi immediately fumbles the job, spilling a ramen cup all over the floor, promptly alerting security, looking like they're going to get caught. Although at this point, we don't even know what they're doing at this building or what it is. So to provide some context, the chapter then cuts to before the heist, continuing the scene from the end of the last chapter, where Meryl goes more in depth on her grand plan to steal land away from Howler, saying the first place they need to go to is the State Land Registry, and goes on to explain the concept of land ownership and deeds, documents that show proof of ownership and have multiple copies so they can't easily be stolen or destroyed because the originals are registered with the state. But she makes the point that a deed isn't just one's right to a property, but rather it's a proof of transfer and a means to transfer land between people. which goes directly over the Gain's head. So pretty much what Meryl is getting at with this idea is that, like money, land ownership is just another monetary system created by humans, a convention of human society that through the exchange of mere pieces of paper, value is transferred between people. And it's actually these systems or mechanism that the lava rock is reacting to, which answers the question of how this rock determines what's valuable. Its power is influenced by human desire and societal conventions. So I think this scene really helps illustrate the theme Araki is trying to roll with in part 9, as he's always been fascinated by these invisible forces that influence the world. We recognize them and give them names, but they're intangible. We can't see them or reach out and touch them. Things like time, gravity, golden ratio energy, flows of positive and negative. It's always those types of ideas that thematically define the later parts. So it seems the construct Araki is going with here is ownership, or maybe the invisible systems that humans have created. Maybe getting into the philosophy of what it means to be filthy rich or to own land. As Meryl goes on to say, the land originally belonged to the earth. It didn't belong to anyone, but ownership is a type of promise that humans created on their own. So we are definitely beginning to see the relevancy of the part's name, JOJOLands, so I would expect the subject of land and ownership to be a core theme of the part throughout, if not the main goal of the entire story. We just don't know exactly what Araki is trying to express through this idea yet, but the ball is rolling. This also makes me rethink how the lava rock actually works, and what we see as pulling in valuables could better be described as a transfer of ownership. It's manipulating the construct created by humans, which is how Meryl May understands it, as her plan is to go after the original deeds of all of the land owned by the Howler Company, which is a total worth of $50 billion. Hoping that by getting close to the deeds, it will cause a reaction and transfer ownership from Howler to them. But this doesn't just mean pulling in the original documents and getting away with them, because the documents themselves are worthless. It's what they prove. So as it stands, it's going to be completely unpredictable how the lava rock will actually make this happen, but it's worth a try. So with that all explained, we then cut back to the heist, now with context. So we see Usagi kind of blew their cover, but since they aren't doing anything wrong and it's just a public government building, the security leaves them alone and they can move forward. So to remain anonymous while getting through reception, Dragona creates a fake ID with smooth operators, and Charmy uses his stand to alter his face, which is still unnamed even after the release of Volume 3. Come on, Araki, just explain this thing. What does it do? So after Charmy turns himself into a Giga Chad and shows his ID, an interesting fact the community has picked up on is that the name on the fake ID is Barack Hussein Obama. So this must have been a reference from this popular image of Obama's Hawaiian ID, which isn't even real. It's a Photoshop of McLovin's ID from Superbad. So I assume this was probably just the work of an editor or an assistant who Googled Hawaii ID and copied over the information. But the fact that its origin is McLovin and it's now in JoJo is definitely some iceberg-worthy material. So back at the reception desk, after some convincing, the game finally gets to look at the original documents of Howler's land, all 48 in total. And as the receptionist is flipping through the files, giving Usagi a pretty good look, the lava rock begins to react, vibrating and then briefly making contact with all of the documents. The game then hightails it out of there, thinking the heist was a success, although immediately after leaving the building, Usagi is struck with an attack, throwing up a thick cloudy sludge that prevents him from breathing and reveals rock-like scales crawling up his neck. And the chapter then ends with Paco and Jodio returning for the pickup. So there's definitely a supernatural ability at play here, and I think there are two possible causes for this sudden attack on Usagi. The first is that the attack is a defense mechanism by Howler, a defensive type stand that acts to protect their land documents. As noticed, when they were looking at them, Usagi was the only one looking closely at the documents and probably touched them at some point, when the receptionist was wearing gloves the whole time. So maybe the documents themselves had a stand implanted into them, set to attach itself or attack anyone who touches them. This definitely sounds like the activation method for a stand and could lead us into fighting Howler. But the other possibility is that there is no stand attack and we're not even on Howler's radar. Rather, this is the power of the lava rock and is some crazy roundabout way to actually do its job and get what they wanted. As from what we've seen, it doesn't really wait to take effect. With the money, the diamond, and the watch, it pretty much does its thing right away, just the process might take a while. So the information they gave the lava rock was to bring us the value of what the documents reflect, which is a pretty tricky demand: transfer ownership of the land from Howler to us. Although the lava rock can't just magically alter reality, it needs to find a way to influence the physical world around it to make this transfer happen, and it can't do it instantly either. So what if this illness Usagi is being afflicted with, a rock disease, so to speak, is being caused by the lava rock and is a means to acquire the land from Howler? We just don't see the full picture yet. Maybe Usagi goes into a coma or is injured from this attack, and it gives the game a legal angle to maybe sue Howler and possibly acquire some of their land through a settlement, making the argument that the rock that was on their property made him sick, which would probably be a tough case to win considering how they actually got the lava rock, so maybe they'll need to hire a lawyer to help them out. Don't call it impossible, the Breaking Bad influence is definitely here, and I would absolutely love to see a courtroom drama arc in JoJo with stands thrown into the mix. That would be incredible, but pretty unlikely if I'm being honest, so I would more so expect this to just lead into a stand fight. But that's going to be all my thoughts on the JoJoLands chapter 14. Hopefully we get some action next chapter and see how Charming Man fights alongside the game and see more into the true intentions of Howler. So thank you all so much for watching. Please drop a like if you made it to the end, and check out today's video sponsor, Web Novel, in the description. They actually do have some pretty good stuff over there, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys real soon in my next video. Until then, I'm out. Peace.